Hi friends, it's Becky, and welcome to part 3 in my 3-part series of designs featuring Jesse James Bead's Magical Mystery Bead Box based on characters from The Wizard of Oz, using the beads in the Wizard of Oz Jesse James Bead's Magical Mystery Bead Box. So I've already done 2 other videos. I'll put links to those in the description below if you'd like to watch them. The first one was Dorothy. The second one was Glinda, and this one is the Wicked Witch of the West, or Elphaba, as we came to know her in Wicked, which was a musical based on a book written by Gregory Maguire. And so we've got a lot more dimension when you look at that particular character outside of the Wizard of Oz movie, which is very one-dimensional character, just someone who's wicked for wickedness' sake and doesn't have any reason for doing what they do. But this, again, has a lot more dimension on it, so we've got all of these delicious rainbow iris beads that were in the bead box that we're going to be using, and then a very simple olive green faceted bead for the focal. We're just going to do a really simple focal on this. And then I decided to bring in some pipe chain. This is SilverSilk pipe chain. It is rubber tubing with a knitted wire mesh around the outside. And this is a dark blue tube with this green mesh all along the outside. And that is going to be finishing off the rest of this necklace after I get it strung on here. I have a couple of pipe chain ends that we'll be putting on the pipe chain, and a clasp that we'll also be using. But this is one of the beads in that box. It is a large hole bead with these rhinestones all the way around it. It fits almost perfectly right on the end of that pipe chain. So I'm going to be using that as a cap for part of the pipe chain, and we'll be using these for the ends next to our clasp. These large hole beads also fit very nicely on the pipe chain, so we're going to be having them be like this to decorate that bit as it connects to the rest of this. So we're going to be stringing our beads along. Oh boy, I just messed up my order. I already put them in order of how I want them to be. So we'll be stringing them along, and then we'll be stringing them through sections and segments of this pipe chain. I'm going to grab my wire cutters because that is going to be the most important tool for this. So we've got those, and then I need a crimp because we're going to be doing our stringing on some beading wire. So I've got my magical crimper here. It is my favorite way of doing crimps. Any other way of doing crimps would work, but I like this way because then I don't have to use crimp covers. It makes a nice little smooth ball of crimp that doesn't have any rough edges and looks rather nice. Let me just find a crimp from my collection of crimps. There we go. How about, since we've got a couple of gunmetal colors, let's do that. These are 2x2 crimp tubes. They are the only crimp tubes that will work with the magical crimper. And I'm using the Soft Flex medium wire. It is the correct diameter to be able to use with the magical crimper. And I thought I'd go with purple, just because there's all these purple tones in here. And I have quite a bit of purple amethyst Soft Flex. Alright, so let's get the wire out here. I am going to make a focal real quick with my round nose pliers, if I can locate them. They're right there. Perfect. I'm going to grab some of these beads. I've got this copper fluted spacer that's going to go down at the bottom, and then this gold daisy spacer, this avocado faceted bead. This is a very large hole on it, but that's okay, because we'll just leave it exactly the way it is. And I'm going to put this one on the other end. And this is just going to hang down in the middle of the necklace. Like I said, it's going to be a very simple focal. And this head pin that I'm using, it has a fairly strong metal, so I'm just going to do a simple loop on it. I bent the wire over the top at a right angle, and then I'm just going to measure from the edge of the bead to right here on my finger. I know that that is 1 centimeter. You can use a measuring tool if you would like. I just know from experience that that's 1 centimeter. There we go. And then I can clip that with my wire cutter and roll this back up with my round nose pliers until it touches the other side. And now I've got myself a loop that when I start stringing, it'll string right onto there. Alright, so I'm just going to start from this end and string all the way along. I'm going to start with these cube beads. I love cube beads, they are so much fun. And then one of these gold rondelles with the clear crystals. We're going to put on these long drops, and we're going to go point in for that part. And then we've got a couple of these rectangles, a hex bead, a rectangle, a long drop, and that's going to be kind of pointing to each other like that. And then at the base of the drop, right next to the fat bottom, we're going to put one of those rondelles, and then another square, like that. Alright, and now we've got another section. We're going to have a hex bead, one of these stars. I want the stars with the point facing out and away from the center of the necklace. So it'll end up being on that side. So that's point first on this one, and then when I go to the other side, we'll do bottom first, point away. Then we got this hex bead again, one of these squares, a spacer, another one of the long drops, a hex bead, my very simple focal. When you read the book, you read that her origin was very simple. She lived in a little small house. She had a sister, and they didn't have a lot to begin with, so very simple. And then all of these other things give you more faceted, more spectacular things that they're able to do. Alright, so I want the point up. There we go. You'd think maybe a pointy hat, but no, let's do this. We're going this way. Anyway, this was a fantastic bead box. I've been having so much fun with it. And I just lost my rondelle. I got it back. If you are a subscriber to this, what kind of fun things have you made with this? I love that. Alright, so now we get to the really fun parts. And I'm going to check my length real quick up against my neck to see how much further I want to carry this. Alright, so these will meet my collarbones. So I'm going to take my pipe chain, kind of put it behind my neck, and where it fits to meet my collarbones, I'm going to go ahead and cut this maybe ½ inch shorter. That should make up for the closures. Alright, there we go. There are always these little bits of wire that like to come off when you cut SilverSilk, so I'm just brushing them away with my fingers. And now I need to cut this in half, because half of this will go up one side and half of it will go up the other. So let's find our halfway point on this wire, and it's going to be right there. Alright. So what I want to do is get this on this end right here so that I can see the tube. And then I'm going to feed my wire through the tube. It'll be like a really long bead, y'all. You can actually treat them like beads too. You can cut little sections of the pipe chain. So you've got that right there. That is going to cover that cut end. And one of the nice things that it does too is keep the little bits of wire from rubbing against your skin when you're wearing it. So that's a good transition. And this will carry it up a little bit further to have both of these. Alright, now let's go ahead, and it doesn't matter if this is front or back. Let's go ahead and get this capped off on this end. These end caps are sold at SilverSilk, and they just go right over the end of the SilverSilk pipe chain. To cover that up, it does the same thing that this is going to be doing. It covers up those cut ends to keep it from scratching your skin or from looking weird. And then I'm going to grab my crimp, my lobster clasp. I'm going to feed that back through my crimp, back into the pipe chain maybe. Doesn't have to go into the pipe chain, but you know, sometimes it's fun. There we go. Now I can make my little crimp right here. And if you've not used the magical crimpers, I'm going to be centering my crimp into this concavity in the middle of the crimper, that rounded part. Make sure it's good and centered. And then I'm going to give it a little squish. It squishes down just the corners of that crimp. And then I rotate it and squish from a different angle. And then rotate it and squish from a different angle. You go like 90 degree and then 30 degree and then 20 degree, and just keep going around until you stop meeting resistance with your crimper. And like I said, you get a nice little round bead of crimp. Wait, let's make sure that that is good And I want to make sure I have enough wire to be able to crimp on that end. All right. Because I still need to create the second side of this. Let's pop this guy right on here. Make sure I can see the hole. And start feeding this through. Now I've got that. Let's put these beads on top of there. Add my little cap onto the back. Like that. And now I'm going to go through, put the crimp on first, Becky. Go through my jump ring here. And then put this wire back through the crimp bead. Now I can crimp this end. It's a really easy necklace. You don't have to do too much wire working. It's mostly just stringing, making a drop, and then letting our SilverSilk do a bunch of work for us while we string the rest of this necklace. And there we go, Wicked Witch of the West. This was probably the quickest one out of all of my 3 series. And once more, I will put links to the other ones that I finished in the description if you want to go watch those. I'll also put a link to Jessie James Beads if you want to check out the Magical Mystery Bead Box. They do such an amazing job of curating an experience with these beads. And this was a magical box. We had 2 witches in it. And that is fantastic. I'll also put a link to SilverSilk. This particular pipe chain I did not see on their website. I think I got it either from Sam's Bead Shop as one of the custom chains that they make sometimes for the Sam's Bead box, or it might have been custom with the Jessie James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box, or it might have been something in a pop-up shop. But every now and again, we will get something really unique like this, and I like to snap it up when that happens, when I see it in the pop-up shop, because it can really, really make a big difference with a project like this, to have that pipe chain that just fits and goes so smoothly with the rest of the colors of this necklace. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. I will see you later. Happy beading.